This is one of my favorite sections. As a marketing guy, you can probably appreciate what I really love about marketing to the CPA community and meeting new CPAs is simply the ease and simplicity in doing it. So the idea of this section, I want to really teach you how easy it is to ultimately get belly to belly with CPAs and how to meet CPAs in your community. So we spoke about looking to get in front of 64 CPAs a year. And there's really a bunch of different ways that we can go about doing that. I'd like to hit a few of them today, and we'll go through some scripts and some real easy process. And what I want you to understand, if you look on your screen now, you can see some resources that we have in your training manual, which allows you to really see where we build our lead databases. You can see the yellowpages.com and CPA list download as examples. So it's really easy to build your local lead list and database of CPAs, and it's important that you start doing that now. So one of the first pieces of homework that I'm going to give you is to start to compile a list of all of your current clients, CPAs. As financial advisors, we should have most of that information already in client files. If you don't, you should go out and do that. As you can see on your screen, we have some sample letters, and this is also available in your training manual, but that we can send out to clients in order to gain access to their CPAs and attorneys and such, and as well as all of the other information you'll need to begin to build your lead database. So from a resource perspective, there's really a handful of ways to start to build these relationships. One is existing relationships. So what I mean when I say that is existing relationships that you currently have with CPAs. Here's what I find really interesting. You know the old saying that the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again and believe that you're going to get a different result. So many of us have had relationships with existing CPAs. It might be your own CPA, it might be a neighbor, it might be an old high school friend, or just a CPA that you've hired or that you've chosen to refer to over the last number of years. And a lot of times what we do is we expect that CPA one day will figure out that they should in fact reciprocate back for referrals. A lot of times what I find is those CPAs, if you remember earlier, this is important to understand, so I'm happy to reiterate it, that when you think statistically, if you were to meet 10 CPAs, 4 out of 10, no matter what you do, you could follow my system to the T, you can deliver it flawlessly, but 4 out of 10 are just the wrong accountant. No matter what you do, they're not going to refer to you. No matter what you do, they're never going to get it and want to build a wealth management arm or financial planning arm within their practice. And a lot of times those are the folks that we continue to refer to. Okay? So when I talk about the existing CPAs that you work with, you might just have the wrong CPA. But the first thing that I want to ask you to do, and it's the first bit of homework that I'm going to give you, is when you get home and back to your offices, I want you to call those CPAs that you have existing relationships, and I want you to invite them out to lunch. And what I want you to do is I want you to have a conversation with them. I call it the difficult conversation with a CPA who is not reciprocating. So take a look on the screen and you can see a script that I developed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a second, I'm going to read you that script. So the script is entitled, again, Difficult Conversation with CPA. Advisor refers and the CPA does not reciprocate. So the script even tells you, as you can see, should be done at a lunch or friendly setting. What I want you to do is I want you to make your normal small talk. And after you make your normal small talk and you have your conversation as you normally would with the CPA over lunch, and you talk about sports and the weather and all of the things that you would normally talk about 20 or 30 minutes into it, I want you to switch gears. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to say something along these lines. And you know, instead of actually reading the script along to you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually deliver it to you the way I would deliver it to a CPA, and then I'll read you the script afterwards because I think it's more effective. And I want you to remember, as we're starting to go into a lot of the scripts here, and a big portion of our time together will be things that I've scripted for you, these scripts are not developed for you to actually go out and memorize and deliver word for word. These are my words. So what I want you to do is I want you to get the big picture concepts, and I want you to turn them into your own words that are comfortable for you. But it's important that you get the key concepts and that's what you convey to the CPA throughout the process. So here we are, we're sitting in lunch, we're in a restaurant, we're making our normal small talk, talking about the normal things that you would, and then you're going to switch gears, and here's what I want you to say. I want you to say something along these lines. I say, Ken, the reason that I wanted to have you out to lunch today was, to catch up, but I also wanted to have a conversation with you. And I have to share with you, I've kind of gone back and forth as to whether or not I should even have this conversation. And I thought about it a ton, and after a lot of soul searching, I decided I thought it would in fact be a good idea for the good of our relationship to have this conversation. And as you do that, I want you to come off as being a little shy and uncomfortable. Now let me explain to you what I just did, and hopefully you can already see it. It's part of a communication model, and we'll talk about this in one of our webinars on leadership development. But what I just did is I set the table, right? So what I just did is I made the person that I'm speaking to, fictitiously Ken, understand that I had a lot of difficulty coming to a conclusion as to whether or not I should even have this conversation with him. So what he's thinking in the back of his mind is, what did I do? What's John going to lay on me, right? What's coming? So he is ready to receive the message that I'm delivering to him, and he's going to do it, in my opinion, because I set it up the right way, in a very calm and laid-back, relaxed way. And then here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, Ken, we've been working together, I guess it's been almost 5 or 6 years now, and over the last 5 or 6 years, I think I've probably referred 20 or 30 of my clients to you. And you know what I have to tell you? They love you. They've been really happy with your experience. They think that you're very knowledgeable. They're happy with your service. They think your fees are reasonable. In fact, I've never heard anything but good feedback from any client that I've ever referred you to. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I realized in the same 5 or 6 years, I don't think I've gotten any referrals from you. And I was thinking about it, I'm wondering if you've seen something in the work that I do, or if some of my clients have given you some negative feedback. And I've got to be honest, I've been losing a little sleep over it. I didn't know if I should come to you with it or not, but after a lot of thought, I figured I'd bring it to you. What do I have to lose? And I really just wanted to see, is there something that I do or have done that makes you uncomfortable referring to me? And then I just want you to shut up and listen. So think about it for a minute, guys. What did I just do? I just set the table. What do you think Ken's going to say to me? 99.9% of the time, he's not going to say, you're not good at what you do, your clients don't like you. What he's going to say is something like, don't be silly. I think you do a great job. In fact, I gave your business card out 3 weeks ago to a client, or I would refer you, or I don't have clients that I can refer you to because they all have someone else, or they don't have enough money to work with you. Whatever it is, they're going to probably say something to me. The CPA is going to say something to me, how they like me, trust me, and would want to do business with me because I've been a valuable referral source to them for a long time. So what most of us would do once we got that feedback back from the accountant is we'd say, "Phew, well, that makes me feel a lot better. Thanks for letting me know that, now I could sleep." What I want you to do is to go, "Whew, I feel a lot better." But what I want you to then say is, the fact that you have tried to refer to me, believe that your clients aren't qualified, whatever the rationale or excuse was, reminds me that I don't think you've ever been to my office. I don't think that I've ever showed you exactly what I do and how I operate. And I think if we did that, knowing that you have tried or would be willing to refer me, I think if I actually brought you to my office and showed you exactly what I do and explained to you how I operate, I think we might be able to find a way for us to both help each other build our businesses and refer more clients back and forth. Would you be open to doing that? Now I'm going to tell you guys 9 out of 10 times the CPA is going to say yes. They're going to come to your office for the office visit, and then guess what? You're right into my sales process that we're going to learn a little bit later on today and that we've already started to learn. So that's my first bit of homework. That's really easy to do, and it's a communication skill that most advisors are afraid to do or haven't thought to do on their own. I will tell you, almost every time I conduct a live training program like this, somebody calls me a week later, said I did it, and it worked exactly the way you said, and the CPA gave me a referral, or is interested in doing a client event, or something really good came from it. So my ask here is please, if you have 1, 2, 5 CPAs that you refer to, including your own CPA, have those lunches, set them up as soon as possible. Something good will come from it. And if something good doesn't come from it, and they're not receptive to refer to you, there's other CPAs in your community that you're about to meet over the next 12 months of our journey together that will refer to you. So it's time to stop referring your valuable clients to someone who won't reciprocate, or for that matter, it might be time for you to find a new accountant who could do good work for you, but also is interested in building a mutually beneficial relationship. So the first opportunity that we have is your own existing relationships. The second would be CPAs of your existing clients. So we all have books of business. Most of us in our industry probably have somewhere between 150 and 500 clients. As I said earlier in the presentation, the likelihood is about 70% of your clients work with a trusted accounting professional, a CPA, an EA, a tax preparer, whatever it may be. So if you have 300 clients and 70% of those clients work with a tax professional, guess what? There are 200 leads sitting right in your lead base, in your client base, that have to meet with you if you approach it the right way. So, and the other piece there is you already have commonality. You have a mutual client together. That's how easy this is. So as you see up on your screen, there's a script that I have that's entitled How to Approach Existing Client CPAs, and there's a script that I'd like to read to you. It's called the CPA Existing Client Call. And this is where we go out and we call our existing client directly. So this is you calling your client, asking if it's okay to reach out to the CPA. Now, earlier I said it's okay to delegate some of these calls to somebody else in your office. This is a call I think that you should make yourself. So here's what it sounds like. Hi, is Mr. and Mrs. Smith in, please? This is Jim calling from Mr. Cutton's office. The reason for my call is that John asked me to reach out, or if you're making the call on your own, is that obviously you're calling yourself. I or John was reviewing your situation and have several tax-related questions that we thought would be best to run by your CPA or tax professional. We wanted to make sure it was all right by you to to reach out to your CPA to discuss these issues. So guys, I want you to think about this for a minute, okay? Your clients already believe that you are or should be communicating with their tax professional. And I want you to think about this for a minute. We really should be as financial professionals. We serve the client better if the financial advisor and the CPA meet together, right? One hand washes the other. So the worst case scenario here is the client says, I'd rather you not talk to my CPA, which would be a really, really rare exception. What the client's going to say is, well, my financial advisor cares about me. He or she was looking at my tax situation and wants to meet my CPA. That's a good thing. It's increasing your client service to the client and enhancing the relationship. So once that CPA says yes, if you refer back to the script on your screen, once that CPA says yes, we're going to say something like, do you happen to have your CPA's name and contact information handy? That would be if you don't already have it in your file. And then we're also going to let the CPA know, and you'll see this in your screen in a minute as well. You should get this approved by your own compliance department, but here's an example of a form, is that we'll be sending out a short form giving us permission to speak with your CPA on your behalf. Please sign and return it to us for your earliest convenience. That way we're doing it in the right compliant manner, and we have that permission to reach out, and then we're simply going to thank them, and we're going to send out that client the client authorization to release the CPA information, I should say, to the CPA. Really, really simple call, okay? Your client's going to appreciate it. 9 out of 10 of them are going to be happy to give you that information, and now our next step is simply to go ahead and make that call to the CPA. So we're simply going to now call the CPA. We know we have the client's permission to do so, and you're going to say something like this. Mr. CPA, this is John Cutton. I'm calling on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who are mutual clients of ours. Mr. and Mrs. Smith had asked me to give you a call. We were talking about some tax planning, and they thought that it would be a good idea for you and I to meet in order to review their situation and get your feedback. I'd like to stop by your office for 15 to 20 minutes. I have a file of information that I'd like to walk through with you and get your feedback. Shouldn't take more than 15 to 20 minutes. What would be a convenient time for us to get together? So what I'm now going to share with you guys is 80% of the time or better, the CPA is going to say, absolutely, come on over. Sometimes I get asked the question, what if the CPA wants to charge a fee? I will tell you, while possible, it's unusual. And if they did, it's okay, because we're actually going there to work on our client's situation and truly talk about their tax situation, which is something we should do anyhow. Of course, the client needs to know that there's going to be a fee, if there is one, and it's their decision as to whether or not to pay it. But I will tell you, it's a very, very rare exception. Very rarely do I get feedback, nor has it occurred to me that a CPA wants to charge for that. Most are very happy to give 15 to 20 minutes. Now, this is your opportunity to wow the CPA. So once we go into that meeting, and you can see on your screen a sample agenda up on the screen as well, once we go into that meeting, we're actually going there to talk about the client situation. And I have a list of sample questions that we want to come in with, but you've got to do your work. You've got to come in, I would have you come into that meeting fully prepared. So you should come in with a copy of a financial plan if you've completed one for the client, a copy of the realized and unrealized tax losses, interest and dividend statements and where they're coming from, and then specific questions. So examples of questions, you see some on your agenda, but I'll give you some off the top of my head as well. We could be talking about a potential for a Roth conversion. We could talk about tax withholdings as it pertains to the client situation. We could talk about where we should take income from, qualified or not qualified accounts. I think you get the idea, the list goes on. You want to actually go there and have a good conversation with the CPA about the client's needs, okay? CPAs will see value in that. And we talked about being better and different than your competition. So here's my question to you. How many times have you in your career called a CPA for no reason and said, I'd like to meet with you on behalf of a client? It doesn't happen in our industry often enough, and most CPAs are thoroughly impressed when we do that. So you're already standing out from the crowd by coming there, and when you come prepared and talk about business and have intelligent questions and dialogue, you're already building your credibility with the CPA, so the actual relationship is getting off on the right foot. Really powerful. Now at the end of that meeting, guys, it's really, really simple. After we've asked our questions, we've had our dialogue, I'm going to say something along these lines. You can see it on your screen as well. I can see why Mr. and Mrs. Smith had such nice things to say about you. They raved about you, and now I can see why. I have other clients in my practice that I think could in fact be ideal clients for you. I'd like to come back to your office, maybe next week, to do some due diligence and learn a little bit more about your business to see if you in fact could be a resource to some of my other clients. That simple, guys. Once we do that, 9 out of 10 CPAs, of course, want to bring on more clients, right? Think about that for a minute. We have a mutual client already. We've just had a valuable meeting, and now we're closing that meeting saying we might have other clients for you, but we'd like to do some due diligence. Most CPAs are going to take that meeting. Once we're there, guys, and we're in that CPA's office, we're going to now go through our sales process, right, which is interviewing the CPA and then getting to a point where we ultimately are in a position that we can close that meeting by inviting them to an office visit, and there we are, we're right into our sales process. Really simple. Think about your number of clients, the number of accountants that do work for them, how easy that is to get belly to belly. That's what excites me about marketing to CPAs. It's a really, really simple process. The next thing I wanted to talk about as far as marketing to CPAs is telemarketing or cold calling. It works. If you look on your screen, here's where we get our lists. Companies like yellowpages.com, CPA Download, pretty much any list company can get you a thorough list of all CPAs within, call it a 30 to 50 mile radius of your particular office. Once we have that list, that's where that SWAT team meeting comes into play and that hour worth of calls on a daily basis. And again, really, really simple calls. It's a volume game. You need to differentiate it. What I mean when I say you need to differentiate it, you need to ensure that they get done. One of the things that I think is really important is that in those hours worth of calls that are being done every day by either you or someone on your team, not only do you need to differentiate it, but you need to inspect it. What do I mean when I say you need to inspect it? You need to ensure the activity is happening. You need to manage by walking around. You need to ensure that those calls are actually being done. So it can't be at 10 o'clock, the person making the calls decides that it's time to get a cup of coffee. You run to their desk at 10:05 as the advisor, asking them to potentially put a proposal together for them. Around 10:25, they get on the phone, they dial for 20 minutes, and then use the restroom. You have to get on the phone at 10 o'clock and dial the phone till 11 o'clock with no interruptions. If you do that, that's where you'll set that half of an appointment an hour. Right? Most of the relationships that I've built are actually from cold calling CPAs in my environment and in the local area. So I want you to understand that this is one of the most powerful things that you can do. Take a look at your screen and we'll go through what that cold call script or telemarketing script actually looks like. And what you're looking at now is what I call the non-licensed CPA cold call script. And I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to tell you a quick story before I read it to you as well. And it's a true story. I want you to understand how easy it is. There's a restaurant where I live. I don't know if you guys have them in your town, but it's called Famous Dave's Restaurant. And it's a rib place, and they sell ribs and wings and things along those lines. At Famous Dave's Restaurant, when the waiter or waitress comes up to your table, they greet you and they say, "Hi, I'm Famous Whoever." So I had a guy who was my waiter, and his name was Famous Nick. And Famous Nick came up to my table and he took my order and he said, "Hi, I'm Famous Nick." To make a long story short, Famous Nick happened to ask me, and I was out to lunch with a colleague of mine, what I did for a living. I told him I was a financial advisor. And the gentleman that I was out to lunch with said, "This guy's a really good financial advisor. You don't know who you were talking to." He was kind of joking around a little bit. Famous Nick came back after he delivered us the wings and said, "Hey, I'm just about getting ready to graduate college. I'm looking for an internship. You guys looking for anybody?" So I say to Famous Nick, I go, "Hey Nick, my name is John Cutton. I go, I want you to call me tomorrow at 12 o'clock. I want you to figure out how to get in touch with me. If you call me at 12 o'clock, you'll have an internship." I was kind of joking around. I forgot about it. The next day came, and guess who calls me? It's Famous Nick. 12 o'clock left me a voicemail. Had my assistant call him back. I said he was hired. Came in the very next day to start his internship. This is a true story. I gave him the script I'm about to review with you. I told him to start making cold calls. Didn't let him listen to anybody. I role-played him with it 2 or 3 times. His first day, guess how many appointments Famous Nick made? 4 appointments. First day, 4 appointments. One of the appointments he made is with an accounting firm that we still work with to this day that does 1,800 tax return and is responsible for bringing in about $320,000 of cumulative GDC since we've been working together. So why do I share that with you? This was a guy that the day before was serving wings to me, right? Serving wings. This is not rocket science. You've heard the saying, it's a contact sport. This is a contact sport. Just by using the script that you can see right now on your screen, he was able to help me bring in $300,000 plus in GDC. So it goes back to the interview phase. Here's what we're saying in this script. Is blank in, please? Blank, this is blank. My name is John with Cutton Metis Wealth Management. We run a fee-based comprehensive financial planning firm in Melville. My firm has recently decided to seek out an accounting firm to refer our clients to for various accounting services. We are currently interviewing, keyword, several accounting firms in the area, and I've heard some good things about your firm and wanted to learn a little more about the types of clients that your firm works with and the scope of the services that you provide. Would it be all right if I ask you a few questions? Really easy script to deliver, guys, right? If the answer is yes to asking a few questions, here are the questions. Do you primarily work with small businesses or individuals? What size firms do you work with? Are there any specialty services? And then, do you currently have an exclusive relationship with another financial planning firm? It's okay if they say yes. Almost any accounting firm will have some relationship with a financial planning firm. What you want to make sure is it's not exclusive. If it is exclusive and they do what we do for a living, that call turns into a recruiting call, right, as opposed to a relationship making call. I will share this with you guys. About 30% of the interactions that you have will wind up in appointments because anybody would like to receive referrals and like to be interviewed to see if they qualify for referrals. The hard part is getting the decision maker on the phone, okay? And that, I don't have a lot of tips there, guys. Leave messages, you will sometimes get calls back, but the bottom line is, if we dial the phone for real for an hour and have an ample lead database, we will get somewhere between 3 and 4, doesn't sound like a lot, decision makers on the phone, and of those 3 or 4 decision makers, you will set roughly a half of an appointment every day that you call or someone in your office calls. If you're able to do that successfully with the simple script that you see on your screen, that in and of itself can build the activity that you're looking to ultimately drive to be successful in the program. Really, really simple stuff, which is what I love about this program. It's not difficult to get belly to belly. While we're on the subject of cold calling, another great cold call that we can do for CPA firms is what I like to call licensed CPAs. So you can see on your screen there's 3 main broker-dealers, HD Vest, First Global, and Genworth Financial. You may have some other broker-dealers that are in your regions that are more specific to your particular territory, but here's what I can share with you. Those are the Glengarry leads. What do I mean when I say that? These are folks that are already doing it. Most of them aren't doing it really well, but they are in fact doing it. They're offering financial planning. They've gone out, they've taken some exams. They might have their Series 7 or their Series 6 or 63. They don't need to be sold on whether or not to do financial planning. What they need to now be sold on is whether or not partnering with your firm would add value. Make sense? So these are different calls. I suggest you make these calls yourself because it does take some skill and some industry knowledge to be successful with it. There's some resources that you can see on your screen as how to get access to these licensed CPAs, and there are some services out there that can provide you with names, contact numbers, email addresses, etc. I call these the Glengarry leads for a reason. At the end of the day, they are your most successful prospects. Our firm has built relationships with about 8 firms that were already doing financial planning. And what's a beautiful thing, and many advisors in my program have had the same experience, is we were able to take over existing books of businesses. So not only did we build a relationship with the accounting firm, but we were able to transfer their wealth management business to our firm. Most of these firms, guys, make no bones about it, are struggling. They're doing it, but they're not making money. Some of them are losing money. They're getting the low-hanging fruit, and most of them have very small financial planning practices. So they're discouraged, and they're looking for leadership. And they're very, very happy to switch broker-dealers or firms and go to an RIA, bring their clients with them in return for somebody who can truly run and build out their wealth management department, i.e. you. So I'm going to put the script up on the screen now as well, which is the way that we approach a call, which is a little bit different on how to approach someone who is already licensed at one of the firms I mentioned before. And as you can see, we've entitled this the Licensed CPA Cold Call Script. Is Blank in, please? Blank, my name's John, and I run a fee-based comprehensive financial planning firm here on Long Island. We're one of the largest financial planning firms in the area, and we're actively looking to build a relationship with a local CPA firm that understands the importance of integrating financial planning with tax advice. Many of my colleagues around the country have found that many of the CPAs currently associated with Blank as their BD are not having as much success as they had hoped for as far as incorporating financial planning into their practice. How long have you been with Blank, meaning the broker-dealer? Great. I'd love to set up 15 minutes to have a cup of coffee or stop by your office to share with you some of the successes we've been having in helping CPAs build a financial planning practice. Would you be open to investing 15 minutes? At the very least, maybe we can get a couple of good ideas from each other. What morning would you like to meet next week? Set the appointment, send the confirmation letter, etc. So, different type of call. It turns into a recruiting meeting. We're not interviewing them now. These are folks that are in that 20% that are already doing it. They're already doing financial planning. So they're really easy to deal with. They get it. And I'm telling you, many of them are looking for a change and looking to get out of doing it themselves and to partner with someone like you. Really important to work those type of leads. What I want to end with on marketing is a couple of things. We can do direct mail and email blasts. There's a copy of a letter that you can see on the screen right now in front of you that we can send out letting CPAs know that we're interviewing individuals in the area or tax professionals in the area. In addition, you can host CPE events. We've had a ton of success in doing CPE events where we go in and either we can bring a wholesaler in to provide CPE credit, and we do a presentation which, if you're interested in, we can send you a version of our presentation that you can get approved by your compliance department on why to integrate financial services into a tax practice. That's the part that you would present as the advisor. What I would share with you is this, though. When it comes to things like CPE events, and when it comes to things like you can see on your screen, attending CPA functions and networking, here's my suggestion. Wait until you have a network of CPAs in your area that you already know. It's very difficult to network and do CPE events when the room that you're working for CPAs is full of strangers. So we've had a lot of success as we build relationships with accounting firms. What we've been extremely successful in is bringing CPAs that we've already worked with and put them in a room with CPAs that we're trying to work with and let them sell each other on the opportunity. In other words, let the CPA that we built a relationship with sell those in the room that we have not yet built a relationship with. So I think CPE events and networking events are great. My belief is unless you already have that network in your community today, I would tell you to let that be 6 to 12 months into your marketing program. So here's the $1 million question. I know the answer. My belief is between your existing relationships, CPAs of your existing clients, cold calling licensed and non-licensed CPAs for an hour a day, 5 days a week, do you believe it's possible, and I know it is, to get yourself in front of 64 CPAs in the next 12 months based on what I've taught you so far? So if you're sitting there right now saying, yeah, it's going to be hard, but I think it's reasonable, then that's exactly where I want you. And I will share with you, put that time and energy in, you use the simple scripts that I just gave you, you will be able to get belly to belly with the CPAs. The last thing that I want to share is, I mentioned earlier, we have two resources. We have time and we have money. If you're not in a position where you or someone on your team has the time to go out and make these calls on your own and create these relationships, check out what's on the screen in front of you. I've created a relationship with a firm that is that in essence will set the appointments for you. And you can see there's different alternatives, and the more appointments that you purchase or the more conference calls that you purchase, the lower the cost point, obviously. But we always have two resources, time and money. If you are concerned about the activity and have some investment dollars to invest into your business, I think a great thing, a lot of advisors I use have had great success by using our company to actually set the appointments for you. If you know that these are preset and you're in a position that you can get belly to belly without any work and don't have to worry about the marketing end, but just have to worry about the sales process, it's just one more thing off your back. With that being said, you can do them both yourself. If you do have the time, many of the advisors in my program are able to handle both on their own. My hope is that you're sitting watching this right now feeling very confident that with the tools that I just taught you and showed you, that you'll be able to drive the activity necessary to see those 64 CPAs over the next 12 months, and on to our next section soon, which is going to be the actual 4-step sales process and what to do once we get in front of these CPAs.